Hello, friendly hackers. Good evening. I hope you had a great day. And today we are going over Go variables and data types, or types as they call them. Variables, if you are not familiar with programming, are these values or these words or key phrases that contain values, and they're essential in every language. So we're gonna learn variables, and if you haven't seen my episode 1 of Learning Go, I will leave it in the description, so check that out. It will go through what you need to install, and there's barely any configurations, so just check it out before we start. In the first episode, we did a Hello World, so today we are going to do variables. So we want to create a new file, and we'll call it variables.go. And I absolutely despise that it wants me to generate codes, but it is what it is. Everybody is trying to shove AI into everything. Anyway, we want this to be the package main, and again, we went over main in the previous episode. Main is the entry point for your programs, but in this case, we are naming the package main the entire. If you're familiar with namespaces in C#, this is a namespace. So this is our main package. Now we need the format library, just like the last episode. The FMD library is where we get all of our formatting for printing to the screen and taking input. Now we need our main function. Main function is where the entry point for our program. Now, one thing we did learn, or I learned, is that this bracket cannot be down here. It has to be up here, which is new to me. Again, like I said in the previous episode, I am learning by teaching, so I have my syllabus and I am learning it along with you guys while we rest and relax. It's evening here, so I am showered and comfy, and I hope So let's go over our variables. First we have a name. A name is a string. String can hold a lot of values, but you want it to hold words, sentences, things like that. It can hold numbers, but when you want to hold just numbers like an age, you declare it int or an integer. as we learned in episode 1, we have to save first. So let's do file save. Save. Now let's try go run variables.go. And there we go. It takes our code. It prints out each value. And that's variables in a nutshell. Yay. Now we can combine some of this. So let's say we want to be a little more efficient with our code. We can do something like this. We take this and we move our assignment to where we declare the variables. They say in programming you should never copy paste, but I did it anyway. Okay, so let's make sure this will run. Go run variables.go. And as we can see, it runs just fine. Now Go supports implicit variable naming, so we can do something like, let's take this, and do this. Oops. Now this is shortened, and I'm not even sure I like this because it makes it harder to quickly read the code and say, okay, this is a string, this is a boolean, something like that. But I'm sure some people would argue that's crazy. And there we go. It works just fine. So the general rule of thumb is declare your variables in the first way that we did when you don't know the value yet. Then you can use shorthand. If you already know the value, you don't need to really declare the variable explicitly to define it later. let's take a look at some different types of variables. You can do let's see, you can define a smaller int like an int 8, so an 8-bit integer, or you can define a really large integer in 64 like we saw. So you can do var small number int 8 equals 100. Now an int 8, let's go there, goes from negative 128 to positive 127, and int big whole number, int 64 can do that big whole number that we saw, this one. Oops. That one. With booleans, you can, I should say, you can do the same with floats over here. You can define a smaller float like float 32 versus float 64. You can also, with a boolean, it's true or false, so two different options there. Now you can also forget to define a value or assign a value to a variable, and in that case you would have default values like a string would be empty or an integer would be 0. A string would be empty and an int would be 0. It should be said, I should say that you might get errors if you were to do that in other languages. Now you can also do constants in Go, so you can That's good to know. It doesn't even give me a warning, which is, oh, maybe it's here. Oh, cannot assign a constant. Gotcha. And there we go. Let's see if it will. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. Now it throws me an error. So make sure that you want your constants to stay constant. So let's do a little formatting with our output. Right now we're just printing, but let's do some. Let's define %s backslash n is a new line. Now loops h %d episode will be, let's see, what is my next episode? We will do if else and switch, so conditional statements. If you enjoyed learning with ASMR, please subscribe and like the video.